The end of the holidays has arrived. There are 10 faces left to discover the champions of 2025. So for McLaren, the time of the storm has come. After the calm. Welcome to the 15th round of the Formula One World Championship. Dutch Grand Prix. 10 faces will define a new Formula One World Champion and a team reaching its 10th Constructors' Championship. As we enter the decisive zone, this season's battles will soon end. The top category will return to the legendary Zandvoort circuit in the Netherlands. A beautifully curved temple making its second-to-last Formula appearance. But in its curves, we'll find our remaining battles. A new clash between McLaren teammates, the race for second in the Constructors' Championship, and the fight for top spot in the midfield. From now on, every confrontation will intensify and add fuel to the season's fire. 2025. As the season ends and the World Championship nears its conclusion, refusing to give in will only make this fight erupt with fury. Let's begin the preview of the Dutch Grand Prix 2025 Formula One. The last requirement for peace this season has ended. Formula One returns from a break that felt endless for 10 races that will define a new Formula One World Champion, in an internal battle that will inevitably explode as the end of the season approaches. 10 races that will decide whether the new Formula One monarch is Australian or British. What will be the main attraction in this year's final stretch leading into 2025? Formula One returns after the summer break at the legendary Zandvoort circuit. With its quick bank turns and elevation shifts, it will reignite excitement for the top motorsport category, in one of its last appearances on the Formula One calendars, at least for now. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get to know the venue that will bring this Grand Prix to life through the circuit section to get to know it thoroughly and in complete detail. Zandvoort, Netherlands. Its circuit has the same name, Circuit Zandvoort, created in 1948 and remodeled in 2020. For the return of the top category, in the year 2021, 4.2 kilometers of track, 72 laps, 14 turns, 2 drag reduction system activation zones, but only one potential zone for overtaking maneuvers. Characterized by being a technically challenging circuit, but with extremely demanding turns. It starts with the heavy braking of turn 1 and from there a section of extremely technical turns where at all times you focus on exiting the car cleanly and finding traction. Turn 3 on this circuit is banked and you can take it using either the outside line or from the inside out. Whichever line they choose, drivers must ensure clean traction when exiting these turns, since the rest of the sector is a high-speed zone with corners that are taken flat out. A poor exit from turn 3 or braking too late in turn 1 can be costly, especially in qualifying. The second sector features the most challenging corners of the circuit, extremely fast and maintaining a high technical level. And it starts with the fast downhill right-hander of Shea Black. In my opinion, this is the circuit's most challenging corner, and it continues with another fast corner like Master's Botch and a couple of medium-speed turns at corners 9 and 10. This particular part of the circuit requires a lot of precision and skill, both in the racing line and in brake control. It's easy to touch the dirt and lose control, or brake too much or too late and lose time. This sector also features a short straight, which is Zandvoort's first drag reduction system activation point. The device is activated at turn 11's braking after exiting turn 10. The main issue with this straight is its short length, making overtaking tough, even with drag reduction system. So it's mostly used to get close to rivals and try maneuvers at any other point on this circuit. And the last sector is the fastest of the 3 on this track. Mainly because even though it has 3 slow corners, most of it is done at full throttle. After crossing the slow chicanes of 11 and 12, the cars face the fastest part of Zandvoort. And after crossing turn 13, the drivers face a corner with an impressive banking that allows the cars to reach turn 1 of this circuit at higher speed. And even before approaching this corner, drag reduction system is used for the second activation zone. It extends from before the pelotada and remains open through this section until braking for turn 1. With your rival's slipstream and good top speed at the braking zone, you get your best and maybe only chance to overtake. What does this circuit provide? So, speed is present on a track that ends its journey just as it begins in a truly epic way. Zandvoort is a track with delicious curves, the kind that anyone would enjoy. But its status as a classic circuit makes it an extremely narrow track with very few overtaking points. Therefore, once again, it's one of those circuits where you need to qualify well to have a real chance of winning the race or getting a good result. It's an extremely challenging narrow track that requires precision, and that makes it a very difficult circuit. In summary, traction is key in the first sector, aerodynamic support in the second and in the third. The speed that the car is able to reach in the long high-speed zone. As other data to take into account, this circuit returned to Formula 1 in the year 2021, and from then until 2024. The safety car has only come out in the 2022 and 2023 editions, but up to 4 times neutralization with this device has been needed. In 2022, reliability failures were to blame, while in 2023, several accidents occurred due to tough race weather. But with less chaos, the wide runoff areas help reduce accidents in the fastest corners of this circuit. Although in some other spots, the walls are so close that an accident makes their immediate appearance inevitable. Therefore, Zandvoort has up to a 55% chance of a safety car neutralization. On this circuit, brakes and traction are heavily stressed by numerous slow corners after long high-speed sections, making them crucial for setups. And Zandvoort, being a circuit with few long straights and a considerably important number of fast corners, means that the ideal setup for the single-seaters is medium to high downforce to handle the tight sections of this circuit. And as I explained to you earlier, there is only one key spot for overtaking maneuvers, and that's at turn number 1 in combination with the main straight. Thanks to the large drag reduction system activation zone after turn 13, this circuit offers just one overtaking chance. You need to know how to follow your rival and often be brave on the brakes into turn 1. The benefit of this corner is that if a driver gets alongside a rival, they can overtake on either the inside or outside. Having the right conditions and opportunity to overtake is very complex, for it to occur on a very narrow track with little space. So due to this, overtaking difficulty on this track is 4 out of 5. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult, making Zandvoort a circuit where qualifying well does most of the work for you on race day. Previously, in the Zandvoort pit lane, the speed limit was 60 km per hour, but this year it has been decided to increase the speed by 20 km per hour, so now the transit through the pit lane will be much faster. Its entrance and exit are next to the main straight, so no sharp turns or crossing the track are needed. And what about a full stop? And a tire change is estimated with the new pit lane speed to take about 15 seconds. Tire wear is extremely high on this circuit, since even though the asphalt is at a medium level of abrasion, the tire faces extremely high lateral loads and stress, causing significant wear on a track like Zandvoort. To encourage more battles, Pirelli will bring a softer range than last year for this edition. The selected tires are the C2, C3 and C4, representing the Italian manufacturer's intermediate range. Few tracks worldwide are as spectacular as Zandvoort, circuits that require intense concentration and offer little room for error. That makes the Dutch track a unique circuit. Old school, challenging, and in that challenge, it requires perfect qualifying sessions to maximize any opportunity to get a great result on race day. The track is very difficult, so conquering it is a complete challenge. So far, few drivers can claim this pleasure, to have achieved it and to take the victory on such a spectacular circuit that will soon say goodbye to Formula 1. By now, it's clear the 2025 throne awaits only those in orange. With 10 rounds left, pressure, nerves, and desperation will rise as drivers near the season's end. So it's clear that at some point, the battle between Piastri and Norris is going to explode. And at this point, we just need to know when it will happen. Could it be that even on this track, where overtaking is difficult, this is where the battle could blow up? Finally, in this season, 2025. So ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at each team and driver one by one to see what awaits the 10 squads in the Zandvoort circuit. As I've emphasized since the start of this preview, McLaren is on track to become a 10-time World Constructors Champion. The main tension is in the drivers' title race, with Norris and Piastri just 9 points apart and 10 rounds left. So it's inevitable that, as the moment of the World Championship decider approaches, the tension and intensity of the battles will gradually increase. And yes, it's obvious to say that for this Grand Prix, they are the favorites to win. This weekend, low temperatures and wind gusts are expected, which have reduced the British team's car advantage at other Grand Prix events. But Zandvoort is another one of those circuits that benefits their car the most because of the type of corners where traction is vital and tire wear is high. Also, the long, medium-speed corners really benefit their car. We'll see if this is enough to offset any disadvantage from the weather. Our main interest with McLaren is seeing which driver adapts better to this circuit. Because with only 9 points separating them in the driver's standings and just a few races left in the season, every mistake they make will cost them twice as much and push each of them further away from the dream of becoming Formula One World Champion. Ferrari is coming from a Hungarian Grand Prix where they let victory slip away due to an alleged chassis failure in Leclerc's car. But many speculate that, in reality, they once again struggled with not being able to keep the car as close to the ground as possible without risking disqualification for excessive wear on the car's floor plank. Either way, their chance to win slipped away in Hungary, but problems remain even after finishing this car's development cycle. They'll have to handle it in the 10 remaining World Championship races. Currently, Ferrari is in second place in the Constructors' Championship and is only 15 points behind Mercedes. The battle for this championship spot is very close. Ferrari proved in Hungary they can surprise McLaren on a good day, so we'll see if they can repeat it at this circuit. For now, they'll need to focus on beating the German team, Mercedes. And if the surprise comes this time, see if they're better prepared to take advantage of the opportunities to get what would be their first victory this season. Mercedes reverted to its usual pattern in the ground effect era, struggling to develop their car and encountering issues that threw it off balance. This happened with Mercedes again this season until a few races ago. The rear suspension they had brought turned out not to be functional for the car and they ended up removing it. They put the old suspension on both Antonelli and George Russell to make the car easier to drive again, allowing drivers to regain the speed they had early in the season. Expect low temperatures this weekend. This condition benefits Mercedes, who aim to close the gap with Ferrari and reclaim second in the championship. But their biggest concern from now until the end of the season should be understanding their technical department. Because up to now, when they have good days, they don't know why, and for the same reason, when everything fails, they also don't know what happened. What if they can't solve it before the new regulations take effect? It will be a heavy burden in the new regulatory era of Formula One. Mercedes might keep facing this problem, even with a new single-seater. Red Bull just had one of their worst weekends of the season in Hungary, where the pace was non-existent due to the car's weakness in Hungary's long corners and an inability to get the tires into the correct temperature window. These problems resulted in a poor outcome for Verstappen, and as usual, Yuki Tsunoda had no chance at points. That caused Red Bull's worst weekend since the Bahrain Grand Prix. However, the team commented that they identified the problem and they don't expect it to be repeated for the rest of the season's races. Although we've heard that story many times from Helmut Marko, in the end, it doesn't end up coming true. So despite what the Red Bull management has said, we can't rule out the possibility that the problem will show up again. Honestly, Red Bull's pace has been quite volatile, but on tracks where there aren't many fast corners, the Red Bull 21 isn't extremely strong. And considering that this isn't a track where most of the corners are fast, which would benefit the Red Bull, at 21 they might face another challenge as the third or fourth strongest team. Unless the execution of the weekend in terms of car setup is optimal and without any kind of issues. That's usually the case for Max Verstappen. If they find the right setup, they could be in great shape by the weekend's end, where the current world champion races at home and looks to give his fans the best possible result. The win seems complicated, but we'll see if Red Bull gets a positive result. Can they move past their struggles in Hungary, or will the Bulls falter again, this time before their star driver's home crowd? Williams heads into the final 10 races aiming to hold 5th in the constructors' standings, just 18 points ahead of Aston Martin and 19 ahead of Sauber. So Williams is holding onto a hot iron to finish as the best of the rest this season, which has gone from more to less due to the lack of updates. However, they reach a circuit that hasn't favored their car this season due to its features. A circuit featuring important medium-speed corners, several slow corners, and requiring high downforce. This often disrupts their car's balance and reduces their chances of scoring points. So on paper, this will be a Grand Prix where Williams will have to go out and minimize the damage during the race. Hope Italy and Azerbaijan will be better for them. We'll see if they can pull something off, but the initial outlook doesn't look good for Groff's team. Aston Martin is coming off their best Grand Prix of the season, where they scored double points and had the best car in the midfield, achieving their best result of the season. And that's something quite positive. Aston Martin also doesn't really know why they were so competitive in Hungary. At first glance, they attribute it to the new front wing and their usual strength on high downforce circuits. But Aston Martin had to figure that out in recent weeks. Honestly, it seems positive that the upgrade package is working. Since Zandvoort is a high downforce circuit, it could again favor Aston Martin this season, which will help us confirm if what we saw in Hungary is real or if, on the contrary, it was just a mirage. It'll be interesting to see what Aston Martin shows this weekend. Sauber knows their car is very capable after the updates. Sandberg aims to score points again to help the team secure 5th in the constructors' standings. The motivation is high after the great weekend in Hungary, where they scored points thanks to Gabriel Bortoleto. They know their well-balanced car can score points if they start well on Friday. So we'll see if Sauber's streak of scoring points continues on a track that suits their car. And they're starting to look bigger and bigger in the mirrors of the Williams team. Racing, Bulls arrive at Zandvoort aiming to regain their position as best of the rest, with their drivers currently on very different streaks. Liam Lawson has bounced back and scored points in recent races, while Hadjar hasn't earned any since the last Spanish Grand Prix. Not even if the Racing Bulls want to reclaim their spot as the best of the rest. They will need both cars to be on the same page and maximize opportunities, because the potential is there and it has been shown in the last few races. But they need both cars scoring points if they want to get back on track in the fight and rejoin the group where they belong. Williams, Aston Martin, and the Sauber team. Gas, the team showed potential, but the results don't show it. Besides, they've missed a lot of opportunities throughout the season. They know they need to make the most of their potential to get out of the position they're currently in, as the second worst team of 2025. Opportunities have been limited, with only Esteban Ocon scoring points in recent races. Berman must regain confidence in the car to repeat his early season performances and help the team move out of 9th place. We'll see if Haas can make the most of their chances, but honestly, scoring points at Zandvoort seems unlikely unless the race is chaotic. We all know anything can happen with this team. Not much to say about Alpine. The team is still restructuring after one of their worst Grands Prix in Hungary. But this will be the last race they compete in before the arrival of Steve Nielsen, who will serve as the new general manager of Alpine. And hopefully he'll be what they need to fix a team that's now completely lost. However, this circuit could be a good opportunity for the French team since it's a high downforce circuit, where one of their biggest weaknesses, the engine, is neutralized. We'll see if Alpine can score points again by taking advantage of this condition and with some luck with the weekend weather. But even if they do, it seems unlikely that they'll get out of the bottom of the constructors' standings, considering that updates ended quite some time ago for the French team. And no radical change is expected in the car, so with such a difficult car, Alpine has to finish the season. As for the weather, this weekend the sky over Zandvoort will have us keeping a close eye on its clouds, as it could bring some surprises this weekend. And that's because there's a slight chance of rain on both Saturday and Sunday, which could make things difficult for teams and drivers. On Saturday, there's a 30% chance, and on Sunday there's a 40% chance that rain will make an appearance. So for now, the probability remains low, but there's still a risk of having a wet weekend at the Dutch circuit. Additionally, low temperatures between 17 and 19 degrees are expected. So ladies and gentlemen, for now get ready for a cloudy weekend but with a chance of rain. That could turn the Dutch Grand Prix competition upside down. To conclude this preview, here are some historical facts about the Grand Prix and Zandvoort circuit. Netherlands. It has been in Formula 1 since 1952, although not continuously on the top categories calendar. And all those editions have been held at the Zandvoort circuit, which has been the only home of this Grand Prix. A repeatedly renovated and redesigned circuit. The original 1948 design is quite different from the current layout, redesigned in 2020. Unfortunately, even though this track is spectacular with elevation changes, banked corners, fast turns and downhill curves. Unfortunately, after the 1996 edition, it will say goodbye to the category, leaving its place on the calendar. Despite a multiple world champion being on the Grand Circus grid, the Netherlands has had just 17 drivers in Formula history. Before their greatest legend arrived, these drivers experienced more hardship than success in the category. Before 2015, Jos Verstappen was this country's top Formula 1 driver, the only one to reach the podium twice in a year, 1994. But after his son Max arrived, the numbers changed dramatically. And Max Verstappen is the greatest driver from this country and, statistically speaking, one of the greatest in Formula 1. The only successful Dutch driver in Formula 1 with 65 wins and 4 world championships. Well, at least up until now. He is the only Dutch driver to win his home Grand Prix, doing so consecutively in 2021, 2022 and 2023. Max is the most successful driver from the Netherlands. Statistically, he's the only success this country has contributed to Formula 1. Lewis Hamilton set the fastest race lap at this circuit in 2021 with a time of 1 minute 11.097 seconds. The most successful team in the history of this Grand Prix is Scuderia Ferrari with 8 wins from 1952 to 1983. The all-time top winners podium is tied with 3 victories each: Max Verstappen, Niki Lauda and Jackie Stewart. The top champion on this circuit so far is Jim Clark, the only one with 4 wins achieved in 1963, 1964, 1965 and 1967. We'll see if in the 2 remaining editions of this Grand Prix, Max Verstappen manages to take the throne of greatest champion on his circuit. Although, at least in this year's edition, it seems quite difficult for the victory to look likely. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the 2025 Dutch Grand Prix Formula 1 preview. But this is where I ask you, do you expect that finally in this race, the rivalry between Piastri and Norris will explode? Do you think we'll have a surprise winner at the Zandvoort circuit? And of course, let me know your top 3 of who you think will be the first 3 drivers on the podium at the end of this Sunday's Dutch Grand Prix. Let me know all your opinions in the comments section. With nothing more to add, I say goodbye by telling you that if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so you know when I'm uploading a new video, and share this with your friends. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter using the links in this video's description. And I'll see you this Sunday for the recap at the end of the Dutch Grand Prix. Thanks for tuning in. See you later.